I went to town with my friends one day. We were looking in the shops and buying stuff. Me and one of my friends saw a game shop and went in. Only us two though. None of the others were really interested in games. My friend saw the Nintendo games and called me over to have a look at them. Then, I saw a game on special offer. It was second hand, but it didn't matter. It was Pokemon Heart Gold. My friend already had a copy, but I hadn't, so I bought it. Admittedly, it was weird how it was only £1, but I soon got that out of my mind. When I arrived home from shopping with my friends, I quickly grabbed my Nintendo DS and took Soul Silver out of the game cartridge, and slotted in Heart Gold. The little scene played and brought me to the start menu. The person who had originally played this had a playtime of 30 minutes, and was a male called Death. I shrugged. Whoever had played this game must just be trying to scare young children. So, I clicked on the data and the game played. I found myself in Route 30, and there was an Eevee following me. I clicked on their Pokemon and found they only had an Eevee named Reaper. It was only level 7, so maybe they were just lucky to find an Eevee, and maybe they had this star in the PC, or perhaps traded it for this Eevee. I was curious about this, so I walked my sprite to the Pokemon Center, went up to the PC and turned it on. I went through their boxes. They didn't have any Pokemon in there, only this Eevee named Reaper. I figured that they had probably traded their starter because I went off the PC and checked the Pokedex to find that they should have had a Totodile. I went off the Pokedex and went out of the Pokemon Center. I turned my sprite around and talked to the Reaper. The Eevee had a sad face and the text said, "Reaper is struggling to keep up." Struggling to keep up? I went back onto Death's Pokemon and found that Reaper was losing health, but his status was fine. I went back into the Pokemon Center and healed him. I talked to him again. Reaper is looking around. Maybe Reaper losing health but having a fine status was just a glitch. He seemed fine now. I walked out of the Pokemon Center and into Route 30 and played the game as normally. But when I walked into tall grass, I ran into no Pokemon. Maybe Death had used Repel. I passed trainers who should have battled me, but they didn't. I talked to one of them, and they said, "That Eevee is too strong." How would you know if you haven't even battled it? I said to myself. Maybe Death had already battled him. I talked to Reaper, and he had a happy smile on his face. Reaper is enjoying being out with Death. I remembered this Eevee belonged to someone else. I clicked on Death's Pokemon and looked at Reaper's status. His real owner was named Ghost. Another person trying to scare kids? I checked out Reaper's moves. I may as well. We wouldn't be having any battles anytime soon. His moves were Tackle, Bite, and Guillotine. A pretty strong Eevee, I thought. His nature was strong, and he hated losing. I continued the game and soon found myself in the next town. But something was strange about it. The music was the haunted music that you would get in Diamond or Pearl in the haunted house. The town was all grey. There were no buildings, just gravestones, and there was a very thick fog covering it all. Everything was black and white, except Death and Reaper's sprite. The only building was the Pokemon Center, and it was also grey with fog surrounding it. There were no NPCs in this graveyard-like town. I talked to Reaper, and there was an ellipses above his head. Reaper is looking around. He remembers this place. How did it get like this? Reaper's sprite ran up to one of the graves and stared at it. The scene finished, and I could move again. But Reaper didn't come back to walk behind me. He was still staring at the gravestone. So I went up to him and talked to him, but his sprite didn't move. Ellipses once again. That was all he said. I couldn't make him follow me again. Well, not now anyways. I decided to look around. I wonder if there's any NPCs in the Pokemon Center. So, that's where I headed. I entered, and everything was all grey, black and white. No music was playing. There wasn't even anyone there. Not even Nurse Joy. However, there was a gap in the desk where someone or something had destroyed it, so I could heal my Pokemon if I wanted to. Since there was no NPCs, I went downstairs. It was normal, but no one was there, and there were more stairs leading down. The stairs were like all the others, all grey, black and white, but there was shadows flowing from it. Seeing as I was the curious type, I went down them. The room that faced me was grey and dull, like everything else in this town. It was as if I was in a cave. It was made of rubble and stone with little boulders scattered around it. It had cave walls, but the whole room was just empty, except from a hole in the wall that led to another mysterious room. I know I should have just went back upstairs and out the Pokemon Center, but my curiosity got the better of me. I walked into the other room. It was just like the other one, but the hole in the wall was in a different place, on the side of the room, not straight forward. I was about to turn left and into the other room, but something stopped me. An Eevee cry called my sprite, and turned around to see Reaper running towards him. Reaper was jumping up and down and the text came up. Reaper got distracted by the gravestone. Reaper should have followed you. Reaper had to warn you. The text then disappeared, and Reaper's sprite slowly walked up to the hole in the wall. This is what Reaper is trying to warn you about. You can't go in. You can't have the same fate as Ghost. Reaper's sprite then turned around and walked back to death. Reaper then followed me again. Even though I was so curious what may happen if I go through the door-like hole, I took Reaper's word for it and went back through the hole that I'd went through before. Eventually, I got back out of the Pokemon Center. Nothing had changed. Everything was exactly the way it was when I'd first arrived in the ghost town. I checked Reaper's health and he had been cut in two. He must have been attacked. His red eyes were glowing, but very faintly. Maybe this happened when he was losing health. I healed him and went off to explore more of this place with Reaper following my every move. Realizing that I was in Violet City, or was supposed to be, I went north and found a place that Sprout Tower should be. Instead of the old purple roof tower, it was grey and made of stone bricks. There were holes in it where the wall had crumbled, and the door had collapsed from the years there was a gaping hole where it should have been. I turned around and talked to Reaper, in case I wasn't supposed to go in. Reaper is looking at the old castle. He's nodding slowly. Reading this, I thought it'd be alright to go in. So I did. The inside was like a castle, but with only the one room and the stairs leading up to the next. There was still no NPCs around, so I could just climb up the ladder without anyone stopping me. Reaper followed. The next floor was the same as it should be. The same music played, but of course it was all in black and white. The wooden pillar wasn't shaking, but it did have a crack in it. I guess that proved how old it was, and why there was no one inside. The flames on the walls were blood red, the only thing that had colour in this floor except Death and Reaper's sprite. There was a ladder leading down as normal, but the ladder was like the one in the secret floor in the Pokemon Center. It had shadows pouring out of it. Reaper's sprite walked up to it and stared at it for a few seconds before turning around. Reaper doesn't know about this. The same thing could happen like before. You should turn back. Then I had the option to click yes or no. I clicked no. I didn't want to turn back. I wanted to find out what would happen. Reaper's sprite padded back and followed me again. I went down the ladders to find a normal room that you would find in Sprout Tower. The flames on the wall had changed colour. They were now yellow like they should be. But as I walked down the normal route that you would take, I found a dead end. No ladder, no NPC, no nothing. I knew that the other way would be blocked off too, but I didn't have a choice. I turned back to see if it was blocked off, but Reaper ran out in front of me. His sprite was prepared in a pounce position. Reaper is shaking his head. This is a bad idea. You should get out before it's too late. Like I always do, I ignored it and walked past Reaper's angry sprite. I was honestly surprised that he didn't try and stop me. Then, I found that it wasn't a dead end. There was actually a ladder leading down. So, I took it. When I got down, I found myself in the same kind of room that I'd been in before at the Pokemon Center. The music had stopped playing and the hole that the shadows and darkness flowing out of it stood in front of me. Reaper wasn't with me. So, I went into the hole. The screen then immediately went black and my Nintendo DS turned off. I was pretty mad. It didn't turn back on, so I thought it must just need charging. So, I put it on charge and turned the Nintendo back on again. Nothing changed. It didn't turn on. And it never did again. I never went on it again, and I soon forgot about that Heart Gold copy. The mystery still lies unsolved. What happened to Reaper? And why didn't he stop me from taking the ladder? What fate did Ghost suffer? When I get a new Nintendo, I'll find out. Thank you for listening to the end. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to click that like button. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell icon to make sure you never miss a story.